Pleasant good day to everyone. I'm Marian Diatas, Master Teacher 1 at Lumampong National High School, Indang Annex. Now, I will discuss to you the assigned topic given to me, which is all about the reference using the APA 7th edition. The objectives of this session, the first one is to define the APA citation style and also to write the reference list in a correct format using the APA 7th edition. So now let's first discuss what is all about the APA citation style. So when we say APA citation style, it refers to the rules and conventions established by the American Psychological Association for documenting sources in the research paper. A citation is a reference to any item, such as books, journal, article, dissertation, archival manuscript, newspaper, editorial, report, website, musical composition, and others, which clearly identifies the source in which the text of the item to be found. A citation provides sufficient information to acknowledge the author and to locate the author. Basically, the information needed in the citations are the name of the author, the title, the place of the publication, the publisher, and the year of the publication. Here is an example of the APA publication manual, the 6th edition and the 7th edition. The 6th edition was published in 2009. It has been around 10 years. And the other one will be the 7th edition, which is published last October 2019. There are several changes in the 7th edition. The first one, in the 7th editions, there are better guidelines for citing an online media, more example and easier guidelines in citing the sources. For example, the social media and the YouTube videos. And also, in the 7th edition, the guidelines for the inclusive and the bias-free language are updated. Recommended in the 7 editions the use of the singular word they or their. Another one is student-specific paper format. Specific paper formatting guidelines for the student paper compared to the academic papers, including the sample paper. And also, there are minor changes in how to cite the sources. There are small changes in how to cite the sources. So let's go with the references and the cites in citations. So there are 7 notable changes. When it comes to citing the sources, more guidelines have been added that make citing online easier and clearer. The first one is the publication location is not included. In the 7th edition, the publication location is no longer included in the reference. Many of the students had difficulty in finding this information. So given an example, on the first example, the location of the publisher is written, which is in the New York. While in the second example, it is omitted. The location of the publisher is not included. So that is the difference between the 6th edition and the 7th edition. Another one is in in-text citation. So in-text citation for the 7th editions are shortened. For works with 3 or more authors is now shortened right from the first citation. You only include the first author name and the word et al., which means others. So for example, given the name of the authors, Taylor, Kotler, Johnson, and Parker, 2018. So that will be on the 6th edition. And now, on the 7th edition, it is revised or it is written as Taylor et al. 2018. It means there are other authors except from Taylor. And then we have in the 7th edition, up to 20 authors in the reference list. So we can list now up to 20 authors. Surname and initials for up to 20 authors instead of 7 should be provided in the reference list. If a source is authored by more than 20 authors, only the first 19 authors and the last author are included. In between the 19th and the last author, you place an ellipsis to indicate the names are omitted. As we observed in the first example, there is only 7 authors. And then, the ellipsis symbol is written before the last author. It means there are some authors which are omitted. While in the second example, we can list up to 20 authors. After the 19 authors, you should also write the ellipsis symbol, then the last author. So it means again, there is something or there are some authors which is omitted. Then the part 1, the DOI are formatted as the URL. So what is a DOI? So when we say DOI, it stands for a digital object identifier. So it means it is a unique alphanumeric string assigned by registration agency, which is the International DOI Foundation, to identify the content and provide a persistent link to each location on the internet. Most journal articles and books have an DOI, or what we call the digital object identifier, assigned to them. This is the unique link is stable and makes the retrieving a source easier for the readers. The DOI formatted is the same as the URL. The label DOI is no longer used. So as we have noticed in the given example, the first example used the DOI formatted, and then the second example is the URL formatted. So in the 7th edition, we use the URL format. The next one is citing the web pages. URL are no longer preceded by the retrieve form unless a retrieval date is needed. The website name is included unless it is the same as the author. The web page title are italicized. So look at the given example. The first one, there is the word retrieve from, while in the second one, we omit the word retrieve from, and then the web page is italicized. Next one will be the citing of the ebooks. For the ebooks, the format, the platform, or the device is no longer included in the reference. The publisher is included in the reference, and the DOI formatted according to the new 7th edition guidelines. So again, in the 6th edition, the version or the format of the ebooks is written, while in the 7th edition, it is not written. Again, it is used the URL format. And last one will be the contributors other than the authors. Clear guidelines are provided for citing the contributors and the authors and the editors. The contributors appear in the author position. The role of the contributor is added in parentheses after their name. So instead of the author, we use the name of the contributors. For example, in the film, the contributor will be the director. In the TV series, that will be the executive producers. In the podcast episode, that will be the host of the episode. In the webinar, that will be the instructor. online streaming video, that will be the person or the group who upload the video. The next one will be the inclusive and the bias-free language. There are guidelines which are updated in the 7th edition. The guidelines provided by the APA help the authors reduce the bias around the topics such as the gender, the age, disability, racial and ethnic identity, and the sexual orientation, as well as being sensitive to label and describing the individual at the appropriate level of specificity. The first one is, in the 7th edition, it is recommended to use the singular they or their. The singular they or their is endorsed as a gender-neutral pronoun. Avoid using he or she to refer people of an specified gender. Look at the given example. The first one, a researcher career depends on how often he is cited. So we use the word he. And now, in the 7th edition, it is recommended to use a researcher career depends on how often they are cited. So instead of he, we are going to use they. Another one example is, each examiner submitted his or her assessment. Now, in the 7th edition, it is recommended to use, each examiner submitted their assessment. So, replacing the word he or her by the word their. Then another one is to be sensitive to label. So, we must be sensitive. In a student, instead of using adjective or noun to label the group of people, describing the phrases are generally preferred. Respect the language that people use to describe themselves, and be aware that the language changes over time. So for example, the word is poor. So instead of writing the word is poor, we're going to use the word people living in a poverty. Then another one is, instead of the word transsexuals, we're going to use the word transgender people. Then another one is inappropriate level of specificity. When possible, given a specific characteristic rather than the broad categories. The appropriate choice depends on the context. So for example, the word is over 65. So instead of using or writing the word over 65, we're going to be specific. We are going to use the word people age 65 to 75. So we're specific between the age of 65 to 75. Another one is, instead of using the Asian participants. So to be specific, we're going to use the word Vietnamese, Cambodian, and Thai participants. So it means the Asian participants are specific. Now let's go with the paper format in a student-specific guideline. So again, there are several guidelines in the 7th edition using the paper format. In the 6th edition, only the use of the Times Roman was recommended. In the 7th edition, there is more flexibility regarding the fonts. The most important things is that the font should be easy to read for everyone. So there are more choices in the 7th edition in the font of the text. We can use the Times Roman with the size of 12, Arial with the size of 11, Georgia with the size of 11 also, and also the Calibre with the size of 11. And also we can use the Lucida San Unicode with the size of 10. So we can choose one of these 5 choices. Next will be the more running head. No more running head. In a student paper, a running head or stating the paper title at the top for every page is no longer required. So now, in the 7th edition, the running head is not required. Center, or in writing the title as the reference, we should write it at the center of the paper, at the top of the page, and it is bold. And also, the spacing for the reference, it must be a double space. Then we have the flash left, the first line of the entry, and indent subsequent lines. And also, the order entries alphabetically by the surname of the first author of each name. So in writing the name of the author, we should always remember the first one will be the surname or the last name, followed by the initial of the first name, then followed by the initial of its middle name. So we should arrange the name of the author according to their surname alphabetically. Also, all the lines after the first line of each entry in your reference list should be indented 1/2 inch from the left margin. This is what we call the hanging indentation. So after the first line of the reference, the second line must be indented by 1/2 inch. And also, all the author name should be inverted. So as I have said, the first one will be the last name provided by the initial of the first name followed by the initial of the middle name. For example, the reference entry for the source written by Jane Mary Smith would begin with, instead of Jane Mary Smith, we're going to write Smith, then, comma, J.M. So, Smith will be the surname, followed by J, which is the first name, then M, which is the middle initial. If the middle name is not available, just initial author first name. So, if there is no middle name in the there is no middle name of the author, you should write only the last name followed by the initial of the first name. For example, Smith, comma, J. Dot. Okay, if there are multiple articles with the same author or the author listed in the same order, list of the entries is chronological order from the earliest to the most recent. When referring to the titles of the books, chapters, articles, report, web pages, or other sources, capitalize only the first letter of the first word of the title and the subtitle. The first word after the colon or a dash in the title is the proper noun. And also, italize the title of no longer works. Example, the books, the edited collection, the names of the newspaper, and so on. Do not italize, underline, or put quotes around the title of the shorter work, such as chapters in the book, essays in edited collection. Here are some examples of the list of the references using the format in the APA 7th edition. So the reference list, if there is only a single author, so again, last name, followed by the author initial. So for example, Brown E 2013, which is the date of the publication, then the title, which is comedy, and the feminine Middlebrow novel that Pickering and Keato. And then if there are two authors, so again, it is listed by their name and initials. Separate the author name with a comma. Use an upper sand instead of end. So Soto, CJ, and John OP 2017. So the title of the research or book, followed by the URL format. As we have seen, a given example, it is followed by the URL format. If there are 3 or 20 authors, so you list by the name and the initial, comma, separated the author names, while the last author name is preceded again by ampersand. This is a departure from APA 6, which is only required listing the first 6 authors before an ellipsis and the final author's name. So here is an example of 3 or more authors. Articles in the print journal. So it is an example if the given is an article or a print journal. Another one example is an article in the electronic journal. As noted above, when citing an article in an electronic journal, include the DOI if one is associated with the article. For example, the author is Bania S, and which is the publication date is 2019, then the title, it followed by the URL format. Another one if the given reference is an article in the magazine. So again, the author, last name, then initial, then we have the date of the publication, then the article in the given magazine, and then the pages in the given magazine. Then we have the article in the newspaper. So same as, the first one will be the last name, then followed by the first initial of the first name, then the date of the publication, then the article in the newspaper, and then the name of the publication or the publisher. Then if it is a review, for example, review of literature, so again, it is last name followed by the initial of the first name and the initial of the middle name of the author, then the date, and then the title of the given book, followed by the pages. Then if it is a basic format for the books, so again, it is the last name of the author, the initial, the year of the publication, the title of the work, capital letter also for the subtitle, and the name of the publisher. So for example, Stoneman R, 2008, title of the work is Alexander the Great, and then the subtitle is A Life in a Legend, and then the name of the publisher is the Yale University Press. Then edited book which has no author. So the editor, the name of the editor, the year of the publication, the title of the work, the capital letter also for the subtitle, and then the publisher. Here is the example of the reference. And then for the edited book with an author and authors, so same lang naman, which is the author name, the year of the publication, the title of the work, then the subtitle, and then the name of the publisher. Then, for the entry in the dictionary, thesaurus, or encyclopedia with a group of author, so the format we're going to use is institution or the organizational name, then the year, the title of the entry, in the title of the reference work, or what we call the edition, the page number, and the publisher name. So, for example, Merriam-Webster Incorporated, 1997, GOAT in Merriam-Webster Collegiate Dictionary, 10th edition, pages 499-500, Merriam-Webster Incorporated. Then, for dissertation abstract, so we're going to use again the last name, the middle initial, the year, the title of the dissertation, dissertation abstract, international, and the volume and the page of the dissertation. So, for example, Angeli E.L. 2012, Network of Communication in Emergency Medical Services, the dissertation abstract, international, 7403E. And then for the dissertation or masteral thesis published. So again, same last name, middle initial of the first name and the last name, the year, the title of the dissertation, the doctoral dissertation or the masteral thesis, the name of the institution awarding the degree, the database, or the achieved name. So here is the example of the reference. And then for the unpublished dissertation or the master's thesis, so last name, middle initial of the first name and middle name, title of dissertation, thesis. So we're going to write unpublished doctoral dissertation master's thesis, then followed by the name of the institution awarding the degree. So we should write unpublished doctoral or masteral thesis or dissertation. Okay, so here are some of the recommended resources or references. So we have the Scriber resources. So the knowledge base, we have 300 plus articles, the pre-APA citation generator, and also the YouTube channel. And then for the APA publication manual, so ito po yung mga student guide, the hardcover, the paperback, spiral bound with tabs, and the ebooks. So ito yung cost ng kanilang nagastos for the publication of this APA 7th edition manual. Okay, so to end this session, according to Albert Einstein, if we knew what it was we were doing, we would not be called research, would it? So again, thank you for listening to my topic.